Hi, this is James here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting December the 10th, 2018. This week I wanted to work with one of my tarot playing card decks. So the deck that I chose to assist me for this week's reading is the Arcana Tarot Playing Cards. They are by Chris of Dianco of Dead on Paper. And specifically, I'm so excited about this deck because it's a newer deck in my collection. This is what I call the Arcana 2.0 because it is the second edition of his very popular and now sold out first version of Arcana Tarot playing cards. So I'm taking the deck on hand and I'm shuffling the cards. And as I do every week, I'm focusing on my usual intention for these weekly general readings. And that is, I'm asking for the information, the insight, the guidance that will be most helpful and beneficial to us moving through the upcoming week. Feeling one more time will be great. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. And fan the cards out. And now I'm looking for 5 cards in the fan that are getting my attention. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and one final card. I'll go with the card on the end for 5. All right, so I have the 5 cards selected. So now I'm going to start with the middle card. For me, the middle card always represents the central issue or something that we're being asked to focus on for the week ahead. Taking a look at the card, we have, ooh, okay. So here we have the Wheel of Fortune. I already see something showing up. So if you watched last week's Kipperono video, this is very important. We had a card in that reading last week called Big Luck. And I was so excited to see that card because it usually represents great fortune, right? Because the depiction has Fortuna on the card. So I'm going somewhere with this. The reason why I'm mentioning all of that is because we have the Wheel of Fortune as the center card. And the Wheel of Fortune can represent a turning point, or a major turning point, I should say, in our lives this week. This card, when it comes up, it's a major arcana card. And so for those of you who are familiar with tarot will know that a major arcana card carries more weight in a reading, and I tend to look at those as important issues or events that they're highlighting, and that those issues or events are designed for either our personal growth and development or our spiritual growth and development if you consider yourself to be a spiritually minded person, right? So there is that. With this in mind, Wheel of Fortune can imply an opportunity coming our way for a major turnaround. So if you didn't experience that wonderful luck that I talked about last week, the turn in fortune, you may have another opportunity for it because we have a card with a similar kind of message appearing again this week. So that is one thing to consider. So again, this card could represent a turnaround or an opportunity presented that is very fortunate or fortuitous. So there is that as a possibility. Another possibility with the Wheel of Fortune, if you consider yourself to be a spiritually minded person, a more conscious person, then the Wheel of Fortune is a card that can represent one's growth, one's evolution, one's expansion. So this could just be a period in time where you are experiencing some events, some signs or synchronicities or things of that nature that are playing a huge part in your growth, your evolution, and your expansion. So that is another thing that I want to offer about the Wheel of Fortune. Another possibility, if you are experiencing challenges this week, the Wheel of Fortune is a card that can represent this idea of things coming in cycles. And so this would be a week for you to pay attention to events, situations, circumstances, or conditions that kind of seem to be coming back around again and again. If that's the case, you're being encouraged to notice the cycle or the pattern. First, acknowledge it. I'm a big believer in awareness being the first step to anything and everything. So being aware of any potential cycles and patterns through those experiences. And if that's the case, you identify it, you're being given the option of saying whether you want to go on the merry-go-round, you want to go this way around one more time, or that you want to stop the ride and get off. Right? In the challenging sense, the Wheel of Fortune can represent the ups and downs of life, you know, and being on an emotional roller coaster, you know, and you get to decide if you've been there and you've done that, and you're about to get the t-shirt, you could ask yourself the question, do I want to get on this ride one more time, right? The equivalent to that is like being on a hamster wheel and you're running and you're running and you're running, but you're not getting anywhere, right? So the Wheel of Fortune in that sense is about identifying the cycles and the patterns that keep showing up in your life again and again, and they're showing up at this time to say, are you willing to do something differently in this particular recurring experience, right? So again, Wheel of Fortune in the positive sense can represent a turnaround, major turning point, growth, evolution, expansion. In the challenging sense, things coming back around for you to make the decision about whether you want to go through this situation one more time, or are you ready to break the cycle and interrupt the pattern. So that's the Wheel of Fortune. So now let's take a look at the surrounding cards, because they may offer us more information about the central focus or issue. Starting with the card on the far left, we have, wow. Okay, so here we have the Emperor. This is another Major Arcana card. So we have 2 out of the 5 cards so far this week coming from the Major Arcana. Again, important issues or events being highlighted, things for our either personal growth or spiritual growth and development. The Emperor is all about 2 things, power and control, right? So this could be a week where, if we're talking about in the challenging sense, since I ended on that with the Wheel of Fortune, about taking a look at the cycles and the patterns in which we give our power away to other people. That's the first thing that's coming to me. So this could be a week where you're given the opportunity through a recurring experience to take back your power. That's the first thing. The other thing, generally speaking, with the Emperor is that this is an opportunity, if we're moving into a major turning point or a major cycle in our growth and development, then the Emperor is all about establishing or gaining a greater sense of control over our lives, right? This card usually for me can represent work, creating a sense of structure, order, becoming more disciplined, you know, and if that's not been your MO in the past, you may be giving an opportunity, and you might be willing to say, this time I'm willing to do it differently. But this card is all about getting things under control. So 2 things with the Emperor. Where do you feel in your life that you're giving your power away to other people, and would you be willing to do a reframe on that and start taking back your power? And the other thing is about gaining a greater sense of control in your life. So this could be just becoming more orderly, more disciplined, more structured, right? And there may be, for some people, 2 issues that I want to highlight. If you are a woman watching this video, or a man, and you're having issues with your male partner, then this could be highlighting what are you willing to do differently to kind of get that situation under control. And this could also be, too, if we're identifying cycles and patterns and we want to break the cycle or interrupt the pattern, for some of us in particular, they may be attributed to either father, because the Emperor can represent a father, or someone who's like father, because this can also represent father figures, right? For some people, if it's a job-related issue, this could be dealing with a boss or a supervisor, somebody who is in some position of authority, right? And since I mentioned the word authority, I will end the Emperor on this note. For me, this card can represent this idea of like you becoming your own best authority on what is best and right for you, right? So it could just be a matter of you stepping into that position of being the best authority on your own life. So that is the Emperor. So now let's take a look at the card in between the Emperor and the Wheel of Fortune. In doing so, we have, oh my goodness. So here we have the Chariot. This is the third major arcana card. And so this is significant. This is a major week, again, for one's personal growth and development and one's spiritual growth and development. Now, the Chariot is all about life direction. So if we're talking about being at a major turning point in your life, remember the focus being the Wheel of Fortune, then this card is saying for some people that may show up in asking the question, where am I going? Where am I headed? What direction is my life moving in? Right? So there's that to consider. And that is what the Chariot is all about. It's about life direction. Some people could be, with the year coming to an end, you may be looking at where you've been over the course of 2018. You may be thinking ahead about what you might want to accomplish in 2019, because this card is also about goals and goal setting. And with that, you have to have some idea about where you would like to end up, right? So maybe with the Emperor coming before it, this is about establishing some kind of intention, laying a foundation, you know, building up a plan or creating a plan, and then taking action on the plan. You know, so then you could start by saying, you know, okay, so that's where I want to end up. That's the destination. This is where I'm at in the moment. What do I need to do that will take me from where I am in the moment to where I would like to be in the future? And then this card is also giving you the green light. Start taking action on that plan. If you're the Emperor and you've already made the plan, then this is, you're getting your green light, the go ahead to move forward with your plan. And I'm a big believer in asking yourself, what's the first step on your plan, and would you be willing to take that first step? That's the Chariot. Now I will say this too, because for me, this card is assigned the sign of Cancer in astrology, and for me, I tend to think of issues related to home and family. Now I talked about this with the Emperor, about being connected to either possibly a partner or a father figure. So here we have it again. So it could just be some people are being given the opportunity to maybe decide for themselves where they want to go in the future. And for some people, it may be breaking away from a family dynamic, a family cycle, or a family pattern. That may be the thing that we want to break or interrupt. It may have to do with family, right? So I'm seeing this. Another thing that I want to say with the Chariot, playing off on the Emperor. Remember, I talked about the Emperor being about power and control. The interesting thing about the Chariot is that it can talk about being on a journey. So this could be literal travel, journeying, or this could be the metaphorical journey through life, right? Whichever the case may be, the Chariot has one charioteer on the card. And so usually this represents this idea about you always being in the driver's seat, right? So this could be an opportunity this week for you to get yourself back into the driver's seat in your life. If we talked about the idea about giving up power and control to other people and other things, then where have you taken a back seat? Or are you in the passenger seat of your own life experience, right? If you're in the passenger seat, or if you've taken a back seat, then this could be a week where you decide to get yourself back into the driver's seat and assume responsibility for yourself and where you want to go in life. That's the Chariot. Now I will say this, and this is a very mundane thing to say, but whenever I get the Chariot and the Wheel of Fortune in the same layout together, for some people this could literally be, because I talked about literal travel, this could literally be that somebody is contemplating getting a new set of wheels, which would mean a new car, new mode of transportation. That's this, right? For other people, because I still have this out, is that if it's not getting a car, a new set of wheels, then this may be a career-related opportunity, because the Chariot could also be about career, and the Wheel of Fortune is about opportunity. So there may be a career-related opportunity that you are considering embarking on, and it would be for someone in particular. It may have to do with a management or a leadership position, a position of authority, right? But it may be tied to career. All right, so now let's take a look and see what's on the other side of the Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so now here we have a minor arcana card. So now here we have the Four of Clubs, right? So for me, the Four of Clubs can represent laying a foundation. That's a number 4. Again, we have the number 4 repeated twice, so I look for repeating signs, right? Going back to what I said about the Wheel of Fortune being about patterns and signs and synchronicity. So we have the 4 repeated twice. Again, the 4 is about foundation. It's about structure. It's about hard work. This may be a week for some people if you're having to roll up your sleeves and do some hard work. Then this is about paying attention to details, right? This may be a week, again, where we're putting some emphasis on creating a greater sense of order, structure, and discipline in our lives. So there is that to consider with the 4 in the Four of Clubs. Another aspect of this card could represent getting to a certain stage or level in your life experience, and you're being asked to celebrate that progress being made. And this is wonderful in this case, because if we mirror the Chariot to this card, then the Chariot is all about success and recognition. So there is that. So if you are feeling like you've made some progress in your journey through life, you've reached a certain stage or level, then you're being asked to celebrate that progress. And it sets the stage to move on to the next stage or level, right? So if we're talking about this idea with work, I ended the other 3 cards about a work-related or career opportunity, then this would be about taking that to the next stage or level, right? This card would be about one's work performance being recognized, and that allows or creates a space to move to the next level. For other people, it may be more personal, it may be more metaphorical. It's about celebrating that progress, and from that personal or spiritual standpoint, you're being asked to move to the next stage or level of whatever that is for you, right? But this card is talking about moving to the next stage or level. If you are the person where I talked about a career-related opportunity, and it may be tied to management, then this card is about working with a team and team building, right? So you may be coming ahead of a department, and it's very important if you're coming into that, then you work on building up the team. And this card is all about teamwork and people working together. Now, if you're the person, and maybe this is a cycle or a pattern in your family where I talked about family dynamics, then this is about getting the people in the family unit to start working together. And with that in mind, it's like everybody in the team, whether it's a business team or a family team, everybody in the team has a specific role to play and a specific job to do. And this is about making sure that everybody does their part, does their work, right? So there is that. Another thing I'm seeing, it may be high time for some people, if there is a family situation taking place, where we hold a family meeting and we get everybody together. I'm seeing a different image in my head about people sitting at a business table or a conference table. And so that may be for some people in the business sense where we're having meetings. That idea about building up a team, we do it by having a meeting and everybody get together. And if that's the case, everybody needs to be a part of the process in terms of collaboration. If it's a family sense, then we're calling a family meeting, and we're allowing everyone to have a say or a part in coming up with the solution to whatever the challenge is. Because if people get to buy in terms of creating the solution, they're more likely to move forward and do their part in it. So that is the Four of Clubs. The other thing, and this is just an aside, this is another card for me that can represent a car. So we have that idea about somebody getting a new set of wheels being incorporated, because the Four of Clubs can represent literally 4 wheels, right? So somebody, again, may be looking at or getting a new car or a new set of wheels. And it could even be, if it's not a brand spanking new car, then it could just be a car that's new to them, right? That kind of thing. The other thing here, and I'm seeing this because Mercury is going direct, right? We may still be in the shadow phase, but I believe it's going direct at the time I'm shooting this video. then the Four of Clubs can represent receiving a phone call. So there may be something having to do with communication. I was about to say education, but communication that is significant. And so you may be on the receiving end of a phone call, right? So there may be something having to do with communication being highlighted with this card. So I'm taking a step back to see what else do I want to say, because that was a lot to say about the Four of Clubs. Yes, there is something else I want to say. So another thing that could be happening for some people is that somebody may be thinking about what I said about the next stage or leg in your journey. For some people, there may be a move involved, because sometimes this card for me can be about looking at real estate or property, and so that would go with moving. So somebody may be actually doing that as well. And then that would make sense because the Chariot and Wheel of Fortune, remember, are travel cards. So there may be a change in residence for some people. And if that's the case, it's about maybe being in the space where we're looking at real estate or property. We're in that space of actually looking, scoping out property, right? So that's the last thing that I want to say about the Four of Clubs. And so now let's take a look at the final card in the line. And here we have, okay. So here we have the Ace of Clubs. So we have 3 cards from the Major Arcana and then 2 cards from the Suit of Clubs. So clubs for me can represent work or business. That could be in the literal sense. So we're talking about job, employment. Business could be self-employment, right? That kind of thing as well. In the literal sense, in the metaphorical sense, this could be about things we need to work on or a business that we need to attend to, like the business of life, that kind of thing. So again, we have that. Again, this card is about, or I should say the Suit of Clubs is about making progress. So we have this thing about movement this week with the Chariot and the Wheel of Fortune and the Four of Clubs being about a car. So we have 3 cards out of the 5 that talk about movement. So here at the end with the Ace of Clubs, this is about progress, right? So here we have with the Ace of Clubs, I'm getting this message, is that this could be the beginning stage of seeing some progress made, right? Because the aces represent beginnings, something new, the start of something, the potential for something. So this could be either the potential for progress to be made, or we're actually beginning to see some progress made, like progress is starting to be made. So again, I'm going to say with the things I already touched on, if this is about work or business, that person who may be looking for a change in status with their job or some sort of career opportunity, Ace of Clubs is about new work, that kind of thing, new job, new work, that kind of thing. Something that you may be very passionate for because this club is on fire. So that would be like a job or a position that I would really be passionate about entering into, right? So there is that for the Ace of Clubs in the working sense. It could just be too, if we're talking about the next stage of your life, if we're talking about, you know, a major turning point, if we're talking about the growth, evolution, those kinds of things, life direction, moving forward, then this could just be a matter of what is it at this point in time are you on fire about? What are you passionate about? Because this could be a signal for you to move in the direction of what you are passionate about. What inspires you? Right? And what could be the one thing that you could do to begin? Remember, I always say, you got to start somewhere. So what would be the one thing you'd be willing to do this week to begin putting yourself on the path toward what it is that you are passionate about? Right? Another thing that I always talk about with this card, because sometimes this card can represent being social. Clubs as a suit can represent being social and social activity. So it could be somebody's wanting to move forward with a cause that they are very passionate about in the social sense, right? Wanting to see some social progress being made. I'm seeing the idea, I'm not that much of a political person in these videos, but I'm seeing the idea of like somebody who considers themselves to be a progressive, right? That kind of thing. So going along with those things, or along those lines, what is it that you feel like you have a burning desire to accomplish in the more socially progressive sense? And would you be willing to take action on that this week? There may be a cause that kind of lights you up, and you want to take action on that because clubs is the suit of action. The last thing that I will say about this, and this brings me right back to how I started, is that if you are in a space where you are recognizing, you're seeing the signs that you are being provided an opportunity to move forward in your life to some degree, then for some people this may be a matter of getting the spark back in your life, getting the fire back, especially if you feel like you've lost it. This could be getting it back, because I'm hearing a song. You know, I go with old songs, right? So I'm hearing an old disco song like Relight My Fire. So there could be something about your fire being relit, right? The other thing here is I'm seeing the imagery from a movie that I like called How Stella Got Her Groove Back. So for some people, it could be like you are getting your spark back. You are getting your fire back. You are getting your mojo back. You are getting your groove back, right? All those kinds of things. So there's something that is going to either light you up, spark, create some kind of spark in you, or reignite a passion that you lost. So, and another thing with that, I talked about a passion that you lost. So there could be something that you were working on in the past, something of a creative nature or some sort of project, and you put it on the shelf. If you identify with that, you may be feeling an urge or a prompting to pick that project back up. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end this week's Oracle Outlook. I'm James Himm Mitchell, and as I close, I'd like to thank you for sharing space here with me for this week's reading. And as I'm giving thanks, I also would like to take this opportunity, Wheel of Fortune, opportunity to thank those of you who have recently subscribed to the channel. Over the course of the last week, I was blessed, big luck, I was blessed with a number of new subscribers. So if you recently subscribed to the channel, I want to say thank you for taking that step. It means so much to me that you would open yourselves up and invite me into your world just in these small ways every week. So I do greatly appreciate that. But whether you are a subscriber, whether a new one or a long-term, or you are a viewer, I always say this: I can never do what I do here and on this channel without any of you out there. So I am so thankful for each and every one of you. Again, I'm James Himm Mitchell. I'm wrapping up this week's Oracle Outlook, and I look forward to seeing you next week. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day, and I'm hoping that you have a tarot-tastic week. Take care.